Rasika, a huge welcome to India today. I have to tell you that, seeing you do this amazing stuff always makes me so proud. But I want to know your experience now that you know, at the, I mean, your film, Lord Curzon Ki Haveli, first the Melbourne Film Festival and now the Chicago Film Festival. Just the fact that, the film is being premiered at a festival and getting all the international recognition, what does it mean to you as an actor? And what has been the reaction so far that you've been getting?
Actually, I started my journey as an actor with so many independent films, and the only place that those films would get any recognition or validation was at film festivals. So, the film festival journey has been very important for my career. I think the first time I got feedback on my work as a performer was with an independent film called Kshay, which coincidentally had premiered at the Chicago International Film
Yeah,
Festival
yeah.
12 years ago. So I really felt very good
Deja
that I could be back in Chicago with another film 12 years later, and also an independent film, because I felt that, that as an actor, I have the opportunity today to continue doing work in independent films while also sort of straddling the mainstream space with streaming shows like Mirzapur, Delhi Crime,
vu.
all of that. So I felt very fortunate and privileged क्योंकि हर किसी की जर्नी में ये होता नहीं है. मतलब just to be able to sustain a career, an acting career for a number of years is a very big blessing, I have to say. When I started working, I didn't know कहाँ कब होगा काम, कब खत्म हो जाएगा. I mean, and those are honestly fears still today, because on any artistic journey, there is no certainty.
True.
And I guess that is the thrill of it also, but that is that's what causes a lot of anxiety also. And yeah, so I think the film festivals की एक बात जो अच्छी है कि there is a purity with which people come to that space,
True.
it's only about the work. It's not about anything else. So, and generally, जो audiences आती है film festivals में, they're very discerning. They have watched a lot of different kinds of cinema from around the world. So they're a discerning and intelligent audience, So, and also they're all somewhere a part of a lot of them are a part of the filmmaking in some way or the other. There are some who are just people who are who come to appreciate films, of course, but there's a large part of the audience who are filmmakers, who are actors, who are producers, all of that. And many of them are starting out or have a film there at the festival, which is their first piece of work, or at least the first piece of work which has been recognized. So there's a lot of passion for cinema, the kind that there used to be when I was in film school, or every time you go to a festival. So just that energy is very nice to be around. And there's a certain kind of idealism and passion that you start out with, which is which always takes a beating no matter how your career goes. So it's always nice to be around that energy, to be reminded of how you used to be.
But I feel you still stayed very close to the idealism that you're talking about. I know a lot of people enter the industry with a lot of passion, and then the industry tests you enough. And somewhere in the middle, most people lose that steam. But I see you have been consistent, which again comes with its own challenges. I know it's not easy. Tell me a bit about that as well, because you have to ride through the ups and downs and sometimes take up things which are not like, how do you deal with all of these things being in, like you said, surviving in this industry for that long in itself is a, like, I should just clap.
Well, I would love to take complete credit for it, but I don't think I can, because also it is a function of what is happening around you at that time. And I was lucky and fortunate that the streaming services came about in 2016 at a time where, I had done enough work to be known for it. But yes, that work hadn't reached a wide audience. So I think I was sort of it came at a very correct time for me, because people were then looking for actors, and I was already sort of known as an actor who does reasonably good work. So I found work there almost immediately. Had it been that I was just starting out, it might have been difficult. Had it been that I had already sort of done too much work, and then I would have thought that this space was not satisfying or taking me further in my career at that time. So I think it was very perfectly timed for me, and that I can't take credit for. It was a matter of chance and luck. And अगर उस समय स्ट्रीमिंग सर्विसेज पॉपुलर नहीं हुए होते तो आई वंडर वेयर माय करियर वुड हैव गॉन, you know. So all of that, but yeah, I think what held me in good stead always was that for me it was always about the work, you know. It wasn't about the frills around it so much. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. The frills are also important. It
Correct.
sometimes helps you get to the work, and as artists and actors you always have to find a balance on what you want to focus on, how much of what you want to
Correct.
do. I think for me, very instinctively from the beginning, it was that how can I get to work which makes me, which which teaches me something new or gives me a new experience every time, or gives me an experience which I hadn't, an unexpected experience, you know, not a new one but an unexpected one. And I think that was the sort of guiding force in decision making throughout my career. And I came with that single minded clarity, you know, and I think that kind of held me in good stead. I
But
and
But
Please go ahead.
Rasika, like you mentioned, you're correct that thankfully the streaming platforms came in and it kind of widened the gate for most people who are looking for good, credible work. But at the same time, do you see a shift within the industry, or is it still a struggle? Because while I see you being part of these really amazing scripts, which really demand a lot from an actor, but at the same time, is it a conscious choice to not pick up a lot of commercial films, or is it that commercial films zyada aati nahi hai because people feel that you would rather do something which is more like pertaining to a certain audience rather than do a all out commercial film? Correct me if I'm wrong there.
You know, I mean, it's hard to tell for films in the last 4 years because it's been in such a flux, right? And especially the last 3 years have been very hard for theatrical releases.
True.
So, as far as the commercial film and theatrical releases are concerned, it's difficult to say what's happening. It's just sort of found its ground again, and people are going back to the theaters. So, I mean, I don't know what to say about being in what you mean by a commercial film and not being in one at the moment, because I think films are just sort of finding their ground again. But yeah, previously, I wouldn't get many offers for
Commercial.
mainstream
Yeah.
commercial cinema, but that was also before my work had reached a wide audience. You know, I mean, post Mirzapur, post a lot
Tell
of
you
the
right. Yeah.
stream a lot of my work in the streaming services being appreciated. I think ever since then, it's been sort of a kind of flux, so I think everybody's kind of finding their ground on that one. But I've always been open to it. I have never distinguished a project on the basis
Yeah,
of
because I would love to see you in a nice masala movie also. I feel that it would be
chalo,
really
let's put it
nice to
out
see.
there. I mean,
Hopefully,
Loot Case in that sense was a mainstreamish film, but it released right in like in the beginning of the pandemic. It released in June or July of
yeah,
2020.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, if it had had a theatrical release, I think that that would have been maybe that would
But
have
to many
qualified
more
as.
opportunities, to many more opportunities. But Rasika, again, like, as an actor, at one point I knew that awards are something which really encourage and motivate you to continue doing what you're doing. How do you look at it? Is it something that you crave for, or you need that for validation, or are you at a point where it doesn't matter, it's great that you have it, but at the same time it's not the motivational factor?
I mean, it's motivating if you have it. It's slightly disappointing if you don't, but not more or less than that. You know,
Yeah,
because I mean, ये तो बहुत ही subjective मामला है. इसमें आप क्या कर सकते हैं? You know, and there are different juries, there are different awards, there are different motivations for giving awards to people or not. Sometimes it clicks and you get one, and it's a feel good factor. Definitely, I won't deny that. if you're nominated for something, it feels good. If you don't get the award, you feel like, अरे मिल जाता तो अच्छा होता. But उससे ज़्यादा या कम नहीं, you know. So yeah, that's how I look at it. Of course, I would love to get an Oscar. That would mean a lot.
I mean, let's manifest it. You never know; it
Yeah,
might
let's
just happen.
manifest it. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but also, as an actor, I want to know: do you look for relatability factor in a character, and at what point do you stop looking at it after having been in the industry for that long? For example, in this film, you are dealing with identity crisis, immigrant crisis, and all of this, right? At certain level, I think we all might relate to it. At least people who have traveled abroad might relate to it at a certain level. Do you look for it consciously, or if it is relatable, great. If it isn't, then also you'd go ahead with.
I feel like the script has to mean something to me, and the overall politics of the script is important to me. But I am as excited to play a character I relate with. In fact, I'm more excited to play a character I don't relate with,
Okay,
because then I have to push myself to understand a different way of being, you know.
correct.
And that I feel is the job of an artist, is the job of an actor, where you
Hmm.
try and understand a way of life or a way of being or a way of thinking that doesn't come naturally to you, you know. And if you can sort of have empathy for that and have understanding for that, then it's a very beautiful journey, right?
Correct.
तो वो मौका हर लाइफ में आपको मिलता नहीं है. लाइफ में हम, आई मीन, व्हेन वी आर लिविंग आवर लाइफ, वी आर जस्ट सो busy trying to survive that just those moments of empathy with people whose world you're not familiar with at all, are few and far in between, and when they happen, it's such a beautiful moment in your life, right? When you
Correct.
relate with somebody you hadn't expected to
Yeah,
connect with at
yeah.
all. And that's what happens as an actor, and that's just so, that is the gift for this difficult journey. You know, that moment of connection is what I live for. And so
No,
I'm very
it's
excited to.
amazing. Like to me, I feel that the process to each actor is so different, and yet, I mean, the ability of y'all to bring that emotions out sometimes when you can't even relate to it, it's just amazing. Uh,
I think
yeah,
if you manage to be a part of a project, you will. I mean, at least for me, I will put enough work to make sure that I have reached a level of understanding of that person. हाँ, बट वही तो
art है.
मामला है, वही तो
हाँ,
काम है.
वही तो art है. But again, I mean, you also met Richa there, right? At the Chicago Film Festival. What was that meet like? Because she had come down to India recently, and just to see the representation of South Asian representation in film festivals, to me personally feels like a victory. I want to know from you all, like, what was that meeting like, and what do you think about this?
We were on a panel called East Meets West. There was Apar Shakti, there was Samrat, Richa, and me. And Samrat and Richa have been working in America for a while. And yes, it's I think the success of Never Have I Ever, and it being so mainstream, is a big victory for South Asian narratives and for South Asian actors. And I know how hard it can be to negotiate that space for actors there.
Yeah,
I have other friends who've done it for years, and it can be just very difficult. And you can just feel like, where do I go from here? And
yeah,
finally, we've reached a space where this is now mainstream. And that, like you said, it feels like a personal victory. You've described how I felt absolutely accurately. Because we were sort of hanging out after the panel. Of course, we had like tons of things to talk about, all of us. We had so many notes to compare, and we
yeah,
could just
yeah.
like chatter, 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 chatter all day. So even the time that we had felt little, because it was just nice to compare notes and understand what happens there versus what's happening here. And there's enough curiosity on their part also about how one finds work here. And they both, Samrat and Richa, have both periodically interacted with the industry in Bombay, so they're not unaware of it. They also know what's happening
Correct.
here. So it's always interesting. But we were sort of hanging out later, and there were these bunch of girls, and not South Asian people. These bunch of American girls. It was somebody's birthday, and they were out for a party, and they saw us on the. We were just entering the hotel, and they saw us on the driveway, and they just popped out of the car and said, "Hey, you were Never Have I Ever," and they
That's
were
so
so
cool.
excited about it, and I just that moment really felt like a personal victory for me. That a show like that can be mainstream.
What I love while you're even talking about this, the fact that you were happy that the character, which is more like based in India, was also like Richa's character was appreciated by a person walking on the street, and that to me is so amazing because women we talk about it, but very hardly do we see it in practice. So that is amazing. That also brings me to this that Shefali Shah has won Emmys nomination for Delhi
I
Crime.
know, I
So
saw it last night and I was so excited. And totally well deserved. She's so amazing in both the seasons.
And lastly, now I want to know from you, Richa. Sorry, Richa, bol rahi main. Rasika, you're doing such amazing projects. But what is it that has been untapped according to you? A genre which you really want, because every actor at some level have that bucket list, right? Like, okay, I want to try this genre at some point in my career. What will that be for you in the next, say, 1 year? What is that one genre which you absolutely want to try?
There are two things
Okay, okay,
on my immediate list. One is that I want to be in a biopic.
okay.
I think it's very interesting to be in a biopic to try and understand a person who other people are aware of and know of. So that I would really like to do. And the second is I want to be in a spy movie.
Wow.
I
I
love
also
spy
feel like
thrillers.
हो जाएगा बहुत सारी spy films बन रही है अभी आप बस बोल दो let's put this out in the universe. I think it will happen for sure.
I hope
Biopic
so.
also, let's manifest it will happen for sure for you. But
I
Rasina, thank you so much. When you're in Bombay, I think we should do another one, like a proper in-person one. But thank you so much for your time and all the very best. Really,
Thank
it's amazing to
you.
see you progress.
Thank you. Lovely chatting with you.
Same here. Bye bye.